The phone buzzed at 3 a.m., and Anna whispered, "James, answer me, please," as the glow from the screen carved her face with shadows of desperation. She had waited for his call for days, only to find silence clawing deeper into her chest. Tears blurred her vision, and her trembling fingers scrolled through their old messages, clinging to the word, "soon," he had once promised. The room was cold. The window opened to the night's damp air. But the colder truth was that distance was replacing devotion. James had told her, "Soon we'll be together, Anna, don't lose hope." But those words now sounded like glass shattering in her memory. Anna's heart raced as she stared at the unanswered call log, each missed attempt echoing betrayal. The night wrapped itself tighter around her, and she realized that soon was never coming. Anna sat in silence the next morning, her eyes swollen, her body heavy with exhaustion. She whispered, "James promised me forever," but the words felt like ashes in her mouth. She replayed his laughter, his voice that had once made the distance vanish. The walls of her small room now echoed with hollowness. The unanswered calls screamed louder than alarms, and her heart throbbed with betrayal. She thought of the nights she stayed awake for his schedule, the meals skipped to catch his fleeting texts, the sacrifices stitched into her days. Her mother Laura had said, "Anna, love cannot be one-sided," but she refused to hear then. Now the weight of her mother's words felt heavier than her own silence. James had once said, "I'll visit you in December," and Anna circled the date with joy. But now December had come and gone. She watched snow fall outside her window, every flake a reminder of promises broken. Her friends invited her out, but she declined, trapped in the gravity of his absence. "He said he would come," she whispered, her breath fogging against the glass. Loneliness swelled in her chest as her phone buzzed with work notifications, instead of his messages. She wondered if he thought of her, if her name still stirred his heart, or if she had become just another unread chat in his busy life. Anna's best friend, Emma, said, "He doesn't deserve your tears," but Anna shook her head, clutching the phone tighter. She needed to believe James still cared, even if his silence screamed otherwise. The memory of his smile on a video call haunted her, the way he said her name like it mattered. Nights turned into weeks, and the weight of waiting crushed her spirit. "He promised soon," she whispered, the word clinging like a ghost. Emma's truth was sharp, but Anna's hope was sharper, stabbing her deeper with every unanswered message. James's voice once lingered in Anna's ear like a song, but now only static filled her nights. She replayed old recordings, clinging to laughter that had long faded. "I still believe you, James," she murmured, though her voice broke. Her father John had warned, "Anna, distance kills love," and now his words bled into her sleepless nights. Yet she fought to hold on, even as the pieces of him slipped away. Her world was shrinking, her hope dissolving, but her heart clung desperately to a promise that never arrived. The morning dragged on as Anna sat by her cluttered desk, staring at notebooks filled with dates and plans that revolved around James. She whispered, "He said he loved me enough to wait," but her voice cracked as if betraying her own faith. Memories of waiting by the airport gate filled her chest, the times she hoped his face would appear in the crowd, but never did. Her mother Laura had tried to tell her, "Anna, your happiness is shrinking inside his silence." But she pushed those words aside. The calendar on her wall looked like a museum of broken promises, each page marked with his soon. Her heart clung to these invisible strings, desperate to believe distance could still bend into closeness. At the cafe across the street, Anna met her childhood friend Emma, who leaned forward and said, "He is pulling you apart one unanswered call at a time." Anna shook her head, her hands tightening around the coffee mug as warmth contrasted the chill in her chest. She remembered the times James filled her world with sweet words, and she whispered, "He promised to visit." Emma sighed heavily, her eyes filled with frustration at the devotion that only broke Anna further. The aroma of roasted beans and chatter around them blurred into background noise, as Anna's silence admitted truths she could not say aloud. Later that night, Anna sat alone, staring at James' old letters stacked in a drawer. She whispered, "Your words carried me when you were far away," but now they felt like hollow echoes. The ink had once bled with warmth, every soon scratched in his handwriting, like a promise engraved in her heart. She held one close to her chest, remembering how he said, "Love never dies across oceans." The silence of her room screamed otherwise. Outside, the wind rattled her window, and she realized she was building a home around shadows instead of truth. At dinner, Father John set his fork down and said, "Anna, you deserve someone who shows up, not just someone who speaks from a distance." Anna stared at her plate, the food untouched, her thoughts spiraling back to James. She wanted to argue, but her silence gave her father the answer he already knew. Her family filled the table with chatter, but Anna's world spun only around one absent man. She whispered quietly, "He said soon," but the words dissolved into the steam rising from her soup. The family dinner table, once comforting, now felt like a courtroom where every bite was evidence against James. In the solitude of her balcony, Anna leaned against the railing, city lights flickering beneath her. She whispered, "James, I gave you everything I could across the miles," her words carried away by the night breeze. She recalled the birthdays spent waiting for calls that never came, the nights of broken sleep adjusting to his time zone. Emma's words echoed, her mother's warnings lingered, but Anna's heart still pulsed with stubborn hope. "He loved me once," she told herself, though doubt gnawed at her certainty. The stars above seemed distant mirrors of her own unreachable dreams. Anna waited by the window, the phone pressed to her ear, as James' voicemail echoed for the third time that night. She whispered, "James, why won't you answer me anymore?" Her chest tightened as the unanswered rings carved loneliness into her heart. Emma's warning rang in her head, "He's fading, Anna. Don't you see it?" But she dismissed it with trembling hope. The city outside glittered, mocking her isolation, as if the world had moved on while she froze in time. Each missed call was a wound, bleeding faith into suspicion. At a quiet park, Anna scrolled through James' social media, her eyes freezing on a picture of him laughing with a coworker named Lily. She whispered, "Who is she, James?" Her pulse quickened, jealousy sharpening the ache already rooted in her chest. Father John had once said, "Love built only on promises will collapse," and she felt the truth gnawing inside. The laughter in that photo was one she had not heard in months. She stared at the screen until her vision blurred with tears, wondering if distance was not the only rival she was fighting. Later that evening, Anna sat across from Emma in her living room, her voice trembling as she said, "He never posts about me, but he posts with her." Emma's jaw tightened as she replied, "You were holding on to someone who is already letting go." Anna shook her head, clutching her phone tightly, as though her grip could keep James close. Silence pressed heavy between them, broken only by the faint hum of the refrigerator. Anna's denial was a shield, but cracks in her faith spread like fractures in glass. Anna's phone buzzed late at night, but it wasn't James, it was a work email. Her heart sank and she whispered, "Why don't you call me anymore, James?" She replayed his last message where he said, "I'll call tomorrow," but tomorrow never came. She leaned against her balcony railing, staring at the street below as if the answers might rise from the pavement. Mother Laura's voice echoed in memory. Silence is its own confession, and Anna felt her chest tighten with unspoken fears. On Sunday, Anna sat with her family at lunch, but her thoughts were miles away. Father John said firmly, "Anna, this is not love, it is chains." Mother Laura placed her hand over Anna's but found only cold fingers. Anna whispered, "James just needs time," but even she didn't believe the words anymore. The laughter of her family around the table clashed against the silence from James, a silence that grew louder with every passing day. She forced a smile, but her heart felt like a locked room with no windows. Anna sat at her desk late at night, the glow of her laptop painting her face pale. She searched James's name again, desperate for proof that he still cared. But a post appeared, James with Lily, at a holiday dinner, her hand resting on his arm. Anna's breath shattered as she whispered, "He promised me I was the only one." The silence of her room roared, louder than any storm. Emma's words replayed, he's letting go. But now Anna knew it wasn't distance, it was betrayal. Anna clutched the laptop shut, her chest heaving. She whispered, "James, how could you?" As if the empty room might answer. Her phone buzzed, but it wasn't him. It was Emma. Emma's voice over the line was steady. "Anna, you need to face it, he's not waiting for you." Anna's silence was broken only by her sobs, the weight of every unanswered promise falling like glass around her. The next morning, Anna walked to the cafe, where she once waited for James' calls. Emma met her there, eyes sharp but kind. Anna whispered, "He was with Lily all along." Emma reached across the table, saying firmly, "Then he never deserved you." The cafe's warm chatter blurred, as Anna's tears fell into her untouched cup. Her heart felt like a battlefield, every memory of James now pierced by betrayal. That evening, Mother Laura sat with Anna in the living room. Laura spoke softly, "You gave him everything, but love must be returned." Anna held her knees to her chest, whispering, "He said soon, Mama. He said soon." Laura pulled her closer, rocking her as though she were still a child. The silence in Anna's chest screamed louder than her tears, for the truth had finally stripped away the last of her hope. That night on the balcony, Anna stared at the city lights, her phone heavy in her hand. A new message appeared from James. "I'm sorry, Anna, I never meant to hurt you." Her throat tightened as she whispered, "But you did." The words, "never meant," burned like fire. Every promise he made dissolved into ash, and she finally understood, soon had always been a lie. Anna's hands trembled as she finally called James. When he answered, his voice cracked with surprise. "Anna, I didn't expect this." Her reply came sharp, "You promised me forever, James, and gave it to someone else." Silence stretched between them, heavy as stone. The sound of his sigh only deepened the wound. He whispered, "It wasn't meant to be like this." She closed her eyes, tears burning, and said, "Then what was it meant to be?" James spoke with a voice heavy with guilt. "Anna, I thought I could balance it all, but I failed you." Her heart pounded as she whispered, "You failed us." Memories of nights spent waiting, birthdays missed, and hours sacrificed to time zones crashed against her. Emma's voice echoed from memory, "He's slipping away," but now Anna knew he was already gone. Her sob turned into anger as she said, "You never meant soon. You meant never." Anna's voice shook as she shouted, "I gave up everything for your words, James." His reply was soft, "I never asked you to." She gasped as though struck, whispering, "You let me." Rage and sorrow collided inside her, tearing through her chest. The night air outside rattled her window, as if echoing her fury. She pressed her hand to her heart, saying, "You knew I believed you, and you let me drown in hope." James whispered, "I loved you, Anna, but I couldn't keep loving across oceans." Her breath broke, and she said, "Love is not about oceans, it is about choices." Every word felt like glass cutting through her throat. Her tears fell faster, each drop carrying years of waiting. James exhaled. "I didn't mean to hurt you," and she replied, "But you did, and you kept doing it." The line buzzed with static, but his silence screamed louder than any words. Finally, Anna whispered through broken sobs, "This was never love for you. It was convenience." James stammered, "Anna, please," but she ended the call with a trembling finger. The silence after was deafening, pressing against her chest like a crushing weight. She threw the phone onto her bed, collapsing beside it. Her voice cracked in the emptiness, "Soon meant never, and I was too blind to see." The night swallowed her words, leaving only heartbreak echoing in the dark. Morning light spilled into Anna's room, but her body felt heavy as stone. She whispered to herself, "He is gone, and I am still here." The echo of James's voice haunted the corners of her memory, but it no longer warmed her chest. It burned instead. Mother Laura knocked gently and said, "Anna, come have breakfast." Anna nodded, though her voice was lost. She touched the cold phone on her pillow, realizing silence had become her only companion. At the breakfast table, Father John said firmly, Anna, you cannot build your life around someone who is not here. Anna stirred her tea slowly, eyes fixed on the ripples. She whispered, "He promised me soon," the words cracking mid-breath. Father John placed his hand over hers, replying, "Some promises are prisons." The clinking of cutlery faded into silence, as though the family understood that hope had become her chain. Later that day, Anna walked through the park where she had once imagined James beside her. She whispered, "I waited for you in every season," her voice trembling in the crisp autumn air. Children's laughter rang out in the distance, mocking the silence she carried. Emma joined her, saying softly, "You are stronger than this pain." Anna's lips quivered as she admitted, "I don't feel strong." Emma replied, "That is how healing begins." That evening, Anna sat with her old letters from James spread across the floor. She whispered, "Your words once saved me, but now they destroy me." She tore one in half, her fingers trembling, then paused at another written in his neat handwriting. Mother Laura entered quietly, watching her but said nothing. Anna let the torn pieces fall like ash, her tears soaking into the carpet. On the balcony at night, Anna looked up at the stars. She whispered, "I waited for forever, but forever never came." The wind brushed her hair across her face as her chest lifted with both grief and release. Emma's words echoed, "You deserve someone who shows up." For the first time, Anna allowed the thought to rest in her heart. Her eyes filled with tears, but they carried a new weight, not of waiting, but of letting go. Anna packed away James' photographs, her fingers shaking as she whispered, "Every smile was a lie I wanted to believe." She placed the pictures in a box, her tears staining the cardboard. Mother Laura entered quietly, saying, "Anna, letting go is not weakness." Anna pressed the box lid shut, whispering, "It feels like burying myself." The room carried the weight of farewell, each shadow heavy with memory. In the cafe where she once waited for James' calls, Anna sat across from Emma. She whispered, "It's like I'm erasing him piece by piece." Emma leaned forward, saying, "You are not erasing, Anna. You are surviving." The hum of voices around them faded as Anna's eyes brimmed with tears. She admitted, "I don't know who I am without waiting for him." Emma replied, "Then now is when you finally find out." That night, Anna stood before the mirror, her reflection blurred with tears. She whispered, "He never chose me," the truth pressing through her chest like a blade. She touched her face, as though searching for the girl who once believed in promises. Father John's words echoed, "Some promises are prisons," and she realized she had lived behind bars built of silence. Her breath hitched as she said, "Soon" meant never. On the balcony, Anna's phone buzzed with one final message from James, "Take care of yourself." She stared at it, her chest hollow. She whispered, "Even your goodbye is unfinished." The night wind pressed against her, carrying away the faint sound of laughter from the streets below. She set the phone down on the railing, watching the screen dim to black. For the first time, she did not reach for it again. Anna returned to her bed, lying in the silence of her room. She whispered into the darkness, "I waited, James, until waiting was all I became." The phone no longer glowed beside her, only the memory of unanswered calls. Her tears slowed, replaced by a stillness that felt like surrender. The night wrapped around her, and with one last breath she thought, and that was the last time his name ever lit up her phone.